So 1 year. It's one.
Yeah. Uh, the
That's
reason
the
I'm
old one,
at,
and this is a
yeah,
new edition.
new edition.
Oh,
The new
okay.
edition has the same material with additions. That's why it's
Yeah,
new.
yeah. Thank you.
That's better
Uh,
sound,
the
Steve.
big book on the 10 tribes was shown before, and that's well and good. I think everybody should get one. However, and the first book you need to get, besides that one, is Origin, because it's a place to start. It's just like in the Torah. Where do you start in reading the Torah? In Genesis, right? In the beginning. Yair's book, Origin, is the beginning to learn about the 10 tribes as it is told by the Almighty, right? So the big book is all about the national identities and all of that. And everybody wants to know about that. They want to start there. And that's well and good. But to study the 10 tribes where the Almighty wants us to start from in his Torah, in his scriptures that he recorded to us, that's called the Edut, the testimony, the historical testimony that is in the Torah, starts in Genesis, where everything else starts in the Genesis. So I highly recommend that you get one. Above all, you must get one. If you just get the big book, that doesn't tell you about Genesis, all right? That's very important because everybody wants to know, yeah, I am from such and such a nation and I therefore am part of it. There is more to it to knowing our identity. Now, Yair talks to us about the historical, genetically based identity, meaning genetic, meaning the physical Israelites, where they are in the world, as proven by history. History that's recorded in the ancient times, in secular history, in the movement of the peoples of Israel. That's important, but it's not enough. Now I want to tell you something about that, just what is in Genesis 49 verses 1 and 2. I mentioned this before. I want to mention this again. Look at Genesis 49 1, right? It talks about Jacob on his deathbed, calls his sons together, and it says, He'asfu, in Hebrew, He'asfu, gather together, gather around. Now, get around, sit around here, stand around my bed, and get around me right now. I got something to tell you about the latter days, when the latter days will befall you. It says the latter days will happen to you. You're going to be around, but it's going to happen. Time goes, and it's like when you get to 12 p.m., okay, it's going to happen to you. Now it's 1 a.m. or whatever, but 12 p.m. will happen to you. That means the latter days will happen to you in time. And he goes into a bunch of prophecies identifying signs of the sons, how they will identify themselves in those days, because by that time they will have forgotten their names, right? So Genesis 1, Jacob talks to his sons and he says, gather together. See, he said, Yikra will befall you the latter days. Acharit Hayamim will happen to you. Now notice who's talking there? Jacob, right? So Jacob as a physical father talks to you. So Yair talks to us about the physical descendants and the physical travelings, the physical identifications of the sons of Jacob, when in the latter days to be identified by their attributes, their characteristics. Now in verse 2, sometimes it's also translated as gathered together, but actually the word is different. It says gathered together, hikaftu. Notice the first one, hiasfu, and the second one is hikaftu. It says gathered together. What Israel, your father, is telling you. Notice it's not Jacob is talking anymore. It's Israel is talking now. And what he says, it's his last command to his sons. Hikaftu is a command by our father. Israel Avinu, our father, to his sons. He says, you gather together. When? In the latter days. And that's the most important one. Now, why does it say Israel? Why is that name changed to Israel? Remember, Yaakov's name was changed to Israel. It was changed twice to make sure that he understands that. So, because Israel is like not just a physical father, but a spiritual father. So in the latter days, we're not also to return to our legacy, who we are, understand who we're physically descended from, but also our spiritual legacy that he leaves us as the one who prevails with the Almighty. Israel means one who prevails with the Almighty. So we need to return to that spiritual legacy as well as the physical one. Physical is not enough. That's the beginning, mind you. It is the beginning, and it's very important. But along there goes the spiritual legacy, and he tells us what to do. Now, my website deals with that. And I want to say something about the identity real briefly. A lot of people say, well, I am drawn to this, to Israel, the 10 tribes identity, but I don't think I'm descended from Israel. I just don't identify as such, but I'm still drawn. I'm just not it. I just don't feel that feeling. I'm just not. That's well and good. So I tell them, hey, hold on, don't worry about it, because the Almighty has something to say about that in Isaiah 56. He says that you go down to verse 8. It says, verse 6, also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord to serve him, notice, to serve him, and to love his name, that's the God of Israel, to be his servants, when in the latter days, everyone that keeps the Shabbat from polluting and takes hold of my covenant. So strangers in ancient times could take hold of the covenant of Israel as well. Well, it's going to be happening also in the latter days when the sons of Israel will be regathered. And then will I bring to my holy mountain, make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings, the sacrifices, and all that will be accepted on my altar. Mine house shall be called a house of prayer for all people. And here it comes. Here's the core of it. And the Lord God, which gathers the outcasts of Israel, that's the 10 tribes, yet will I gather others. Notice, what does it say? Others unto them, besides those that are gathered. So there's no need to worry, well, I don't identify, but I am pulled that way. Well, but you may be just one of these others whom the Almighty is gathering at the same time. Now, this is a matter, this calling by the Almighty is not something that you choose. You may think that you choose, but actually isn't. God is, the Almighty is opening up your ears, open up your heart, and calls you. It's a calling, because nobody can actually resurrect himself from the dead, and nobody can get this kind of consciousness unless the Almighty calls you, gives you ears to hear with, eyes to see with what is in the scriptures, and all of a sudden it gives you understanding. It is a divine calling. So he calls those of Israel who are in the valley of dry bones, they're spiritually dead. He wakens them up. And at the same time, in the latter days, he will call others to join this select group of people. Right? It is a select group and is due to the Almighty's calling. Enough said. So I want to just end on one thing, that in Hosea 11:10, it says that the 10 tribes will tremble, will come trembling. Notice the spiritual calling will cause them to tremble as they return to the Almighty. Where from? From the West.
Yes.
All right. Now, a lot of people will come from all over the world, but most of them, where they have coalesced into national entities, into states with political and political identities, into actual countries. Those are in the West. Now they will come from the four directions of the compass. That's to be understood. But in those other directions, let's call it Papua New Guinea, let's call Indonesia, Philippines, Burma, you name it. In these places where there are no national states of Israel, they're still there. The Almighty will call them out from there. So that's okay. But the state, the actual country identities where there are large groups from which the blessings of Joseph have spread out into the world, all those come from the West, these national political identities. They don't come from New Guinea, all right? They don't come from the Isle of Guam. Oh, that's American possession. But these it just didn't happen. They didn't go out into the world and spread order and the blessings of Joseph. They didn't feed the world, didn't have tremendous armies and navies by which they controlled the sea passages and all of that. However, they are there as well. The Almighty will gather them and also others who will be called to join them. So that's what I want to end on. And I don't quite understand the DNA yet, and nobody does, but Yair has told us about the DNA, how it can be influenced, and it's a matter of adjustment as the Almighty pokes us through his divine fingers as to what needs to happen to us and take care of us in our migration. Just as the fish migrate, we migrate. I want to say something about that. Then in Isaiah, let's see, I think it's 11:10. 11:10. It's I misquoted. They said they. No, I didn't misquote. Hosea 2:14. That's what I wanted to. It says that he will talk to us in the wilderness. What wilderness? Well, let's say there's more to be understood about that. But our wandering is like Israel when it wandered for 40 years in the wilderness. So we are scattered into the wilderness of the world. But he will talk to us in that wilderness where we will end up in the latter days. And he will speak to us, he'll woo us, and he will talk to us gently, or talk to our hearts. And that's what described in the last chapter of Malachi, next to the last verse, something like that, that he will talk to our hearts and set those hearts into resonation to the call of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we will return to him.
It's true that
Yair is in a class by himself. That's it. That class by himself. No one has the information that he has in Israel, anywhere else. I'm not in a class by myself. What I want to say is the Almighty is calling us all to return to him spiritually. A lot of us, all of us, are really concerned about the regathering of Israel. But a lot of us within that, we want to regather all of Israel right now, and all of us want to be part of it. It doesn't seem like that's how it's going to be from what it says in the scriptures. In Isaiah, that all we need to be busy about regathering everybody right now. Nelson mentioned, well, what about the Frenchmen? The Frenchmen are not going to come very easily because they want to be French. But with all due respect, that is later how all of Israel will be regathered en masse. The regathering, it seems like, is totally different. We are told in Isaiah, I'll read it to you if it's here, Isaiah 40, forget what verse it is, that although Israel is like the sand of the sea, only a remnant will return. What does that mean? It doesn't say all of them will, eventually all, but notice only a remnant will. We all want to put it up on the web now. Oh, no, everybody come in now. No, we can't do that because there is a way they need to return. And that way, that it's an actual way. It's like a road. That road needs to be built by the remnant who returns first on the very road they need to build, and they will build. And that is the task. Somebody asked me, what is our task? That's the task of the remnant who initially return. It's a small, pioneering, road building crowd. It's small. It's not all of US, all of Ephraim, all of France, all of, you name it. It does. No, we are told, Banu Derek, build a road of return. And that we have not understood that. It's a late understanding that has come to us now. So that's what we're going to be concerned with. My website will be concerned with that, and stay in touch with Yair and stay in touch with me, and we'll get into that because all of us want to go out and wear banners and everything over there. Everybody coming right now, da 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 da. It doesn't seem to be working like that as it's put out in the scriptures. A small remnant will return. Okay, that's it. So I'm done. I want to close with that. You can consult Isaiah 10, verse 22 about that. And also Isaiah 40, verse 3, it says, prepare the way. Have you looked at that?
Yes.
Prepare the way. Well, what is the way? That's the way of return. And a whole country doesn't prepare a way. It's a small road building crew that prepares the way. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay,
So that's
very
our
good.
task. And that's
you.
why we are pioneers now, called early, to return to building, to gather together into a road building crew, build a road on which we ourselves return first, and then the Almighty will put on that road others whom he calls from resurrecting from the valley of dry bones and puts them on that road. Enough said, I'm done.
Okay.